I bought this stretch bracelet because I like the beads, but I'm not gonna use it as a bracelet, but I'm gonna cut the bracelet and use only the beads because the colors are really great. And I'm gonna make five clusters with 4 beads on each jump ring. See, you don't have to do any wrapping because they're ready to go. You just have to open a jump ring and strong them on. Okay, now I'm gonna work with this black mesh. I'm using, for this section, I'm creating like the focal point of the necklace, and I'm gonna first I'm gonna cut a 9-inch piece of the 10mm mesh, and I'm gonna twist the ends. You twist until you have the ends really almost like a needle, and you do that on both ends, and then I'm gonna string through the bead. Then I'm gonna add a jump ring, open the jump ring, and I'm gonna thread the jump ring through the folded top portion of the mesh. I'm gonna cut the tips of both ends of the mesh, straight cut, and now I'm gonna start folding it because I'm gonna add 2 beads on each end of the mesh, and I have to attach the mesh clasp. So I use the flat nose pliers because the width is really great to fold it nicely and neat the end of the mesh. You can fold it like 3 or 4 times. I like to do 4 times. Try to keep it the same width as the width of the pliers. And now it's good enough to insert inside of one of the sides of the clasp. You can also add a little bit of glue, stringing glue, just to make sure the mesh it's closed really professionally and tight. And then use the flat nose pliers to close it, grab it. You don't need to smash the clasp. I don't need that chain, so I'm going to take the chain apart because I'm going to connect the beads out of this loop, out of this jump ring. I'm gonna now use one of these beads that I bought it. See, nice, beautiful, nice purple, and then we're gonna grab it around the nose pliers and make it a dangle, just like a simple loop, a wrapped loop on top of the bead. You can wrap as many times as you want. I like to create like almost as if I had used like a bead cap on top of it. Then you trim it, the excess wire, so you have the first one, and then I'm going to create a second one. Okay, now I'm going to attach the 2 fabulous purple beads to the end of my fabulous mesh. And then what you can do, if you want to do already, you can kind of open the mesh and stretch it and twist it to create this kind of really cool look. So that's going to be the center of the necklace. Now I'm going to make 4 dangles. I'm going to use the porcelain beads, but I'm going to add a little, an extra touch with using those filigree bead caps. So I'm going to use a ball head pin. So string the bead cap onto the head pin, and then I pick one of the beads. And then I'm going to make just a regular, simple loop on top of the bead using my round nose pliers. Okay, now I'm going to build the structure of the necklace itself. And for this, I'm using the two different sides of the black mesh. Here I have on my left hand the 18 millimeters mesh, and this one is the 10 millimeter mesh. So to make it like a cool effect, I just decided to use them together. So I'm going to place the smallest one, the 10 millimeter mesh, on top of the 18 mesh, and I'm going to fold the end both of them together. You can start folding using your flat nose pliers. This time I'm going to just fold it 3 times. There I'm going to twist the ends of the other side of the mesh so I can string some fibrous components onto the mesh. I'm not cutting, I'm using the entire length of the mesh. I believe this is almost like 39 inches. So here you're going to do the same thing, but you're going to keep them together. So then start twisting. We're not going to worry about like placing, you know, because we can play with them towards the end. So we're going to just like add, I have four of the big crystal bead, and then I have 4 spaces. So I'm just kind of alternate them to make it fun. In between every 2, I'm going to place a overhand knot. Remember that we're going to add our focal point here. So we just have to repeat what I did here. So we just have to repeat on to match the other side of the necklace. Okay, we are almost done. See, I have the necklace, the layout, you know, in front of me already. I already even out the mesh. That's the structure of the necklace. So I'm pretty much gonna use jump rings to attach the dangles, the porcelain beads, the little rondelles, and after I have them all attached in place symmetrically, I will start work on the mesh. I'm gonna add one of these dangles, kind of like grape AB color, really nice, rich, to one of the porcelain beads, and then I'm gonna go over both strands of the mesh. Make sure that you don't cut or go through the mesh, because you don't want to damage, to compromise the mesh itself. You go over, and then you close your jump ring nicely. When you hear that snap, that means that you're good to go. And then the last dangle we can add to the center portion of our piece, just to bring that grape AB color to the center as well. And here you're gonna go through both. Don't worry that the small mesh is a little bit longer, because we're gonna work through that. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of pretty much fluff the mesh around each of these sections that don't have. It's almost like I create like this kind of space, empty space between the beads. So and then you're gonna start like you pull the mesh towards to the side, and you slightly twist, and then you open both sides using your fingers, but try not to use your nails. If you have long nails, don't use your nails. Use your fingerprints, because if you use your nails, you can cut or poke the mesh, and you don't want to do that. So here I expand or fluffed the thicker one. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same on the opposite side, but I'm gonna use the smaller one. So I'm gonna leave the bigger, wider mesh just as it is, and I'm gonna fluff the smaller one. And this is gonna create this kind of lace look that is gonna be fabulous. You won't regret. Just follow me. It don't need to be very technical. Sometimes you need to work with some materials that you need and requires a lot of technique, but sometimes this mesh is something that it's really easy to work with. You don't need to be a jeweler or a very professional designer. You can be a beginner. You can just start to make jewelry yesterday, and you can use this material. And the coolest thing is that if you get tired of the look, you can always pull the mesh, stretch the mesh back to its natural shape. And you can make it longer, or you can make it shorter. Just use your imagination so it can be any shape you want. Okay, here you have your necklace made with black mesh and porcelain beads and crystal rondelles.